As a young storyteller, Kweku learns his first tale from his grandmother, a revered griot in his village. The scene is set under a starlit sky, with the crackling fire creating a mystical ambience.
Stories are not just words, Kweku. They are lives that travel through generations.
Kweku learns that griots have a sacred responsibility to keep the stories alive, true, and vibrant. His grandmother reveals a hidden book filled with old tales. Warning:
These stories have power. They are alive. Treat them with respect.
Kweku's journey to become a master storyteller takes him from his village to distant lands. He is tasked to gather tales, but not without challenges. Each village he visits presents a unique test of his patience, empathy, and skill. He encounters Anansi, the cunning spider spirit, in a dense forest. Anansi spins a tale that forces Kweku to question his motives.
Stories are like webs, Kweku. Tread carefully, or you might get caught in your own.
Kweku meets old Elder Abba, who insists that storytelling begins with listening.
People may forget the tale, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
She teaches him. Kweku arrives in a new village where he hears the rhythmic beating of drums. He's captivated by their hypnotic pulse, and an old drummer named Malik beckons him over.
Stories have rhythm, young one, a heartbeat that people feel deep in their bones.
Kweku realizes that storytelling is more than words. It's about making people feel alive. In a nearby forest, Kweku encounters a bright songbird that sings a haunting melody. He listens in awe, captivated by the bird's tale of freedom and resilience.
Words are like feathers, Kweku. They can lift a story, make it soar, or drift away unnoticed.
Inspired, Kweku learns to make his words flow with beauty and grace. Anansi, the trickster, returns, challenging Kweku to a riddle.
If you answer wrong, I get a story from you.
Anansi says with a sly grin. Kweku hesitates, but realizes that riddles are stories in disguise. With clever thinking, he outsmarts Anansi, earning the trickster's reluctant respect.
Not bad, storyteller, but be careful, stories have ways of finding you when you least expect.
Kweku reaches a coastal village where fishermen speak of Mami Wata, the beautiful and fearsome water spirit. Intrigued, he visits the shore at dawn, hoping to catch a glimpse. Suddenly, waves form the shape of a woman who warns.
Respect the ocean, for it is older and wiser than any tale you tell.
Kweku bows deeply, feeling the ocean's depth and mystery. One night, Kweku encounters the Shadow Man, a figure from whispered legends.
I am the stories forgotten.
The Shadow Man says, his voice like the rustling wind. Kweku listens, hearing fragments of tales left behind.
Remember this, Kweku, every story matters, even those lost to time.
Kweku arrives at a village where an herbalist named Nana Ya weaves stories as she mixes her medicines. She explains,
Stories are like medicine, they heal the spirit. A good storyteller must know which story will mend a broken heart.
Kweku watches her work, understanding that some tales are meant to bring peace and healing. In a hidden grove, Kweku discovers a calabash filled with old charms and talismans. He feels a strange pull and hears whispers from the objects. An elder explains,
These are relics of forgotten heroes. They keep the stories alive.
Kweku senses the weight of responsibility in preserving these tales. In the forest, Kweku meets a hunter who survived an encounter with the infamous Leopard King. The hunter's story is filled with bravery, wisdom, and respect for nature.
A storyteller must understand fear and the strength it takes to face it.
Kweku ventures to an ancient burial ground where the spirits of ancestors emerge at dusk. They tell him stories from long ago, tales of great leaders, warriors, and healers. One spirit, an old warrior, gives him a stern warning.
To tell our stories, you must know our struggles, our victories, and our sacrifices.
Kweku is summoned to a council of village elders who demand he tell a story they've never heard. Nervous, he recounts a tale of his journey so far. The elders nod in approval.
You're beginning to find your voice, young griot. But be mindful, the world has many more stories than you can imagine.
At night, a swarm of fireflies surrounds Kweku, each glowing with a tiny story of its own. They tell tales of light and darkness, of hope and resilience. Inspired, Kweku realizes that even small stories can shine brightly and bring warmth to those in need. Kweku stumbles upon a mysterious figure who claims to be the moon in human form.
I watch over the stories and guide them through the night.
She shows Kweku how stories transform in the dark, becoming symbols of comfort and dreams. Kweku promises to honor the stories of the night. Under a massive baobab tree, Kweku meets a wise old spirit who has seen centuries pass.
Time is a story, and you, young griot, are but a chapter in the grand tale of this world.
In a bustling village square, Kweku sees dancers who tell stories with movement. He joins, feeling the rhythm guide his words. A dancer tells him,
To truly captivate, you must let your words dance, inviting people to move with you.
An elder warns Kweku of storytellers who lost their way, letting pride consume them.
You must remain humble, Kweku, for arrogance will cloud your tales and blind you to their true meaning.
Humbled, Kweku realizes the importance of staying true to his purpose. One evening, Kweku encounters a storm unlike any he's seen. Thunder booms like the voice of an angry god. He shelters under a tree, terrified but also inspired. When the storm passes, he realizes that even nature's fury tells a story, one of awe, respect, and survival. A fisherman shares a story of a magical golden fish that granted him wisdom rather than riches. Kweku listens, amazed, and the fisherman grins.
The best stories leave you richer in spirit, not in gold.
Kweku meets a weary traveler who carries a bag of stones, each representing a hardship. He teaches Kweku that stories can carry burdens, and sharing them can ease the weight for others.
Remember, storyteller, sometimes people need to know they are not alone.
A drumming ceremony reveals the power of sound in storytelling. Each beat holds a message that resonates with the crowd. Kweku learns to add pauses, beats, and emphasis to his tales, understanding how silence and rhythm can speak volumes. Kweku meets an elderly woman weaving intricate patterns into cloth.
Every stitch is a story, Kweku.
She explains. She hands him a piece of cloth, each thread representing a tale of struggle, hope, and unity. Inspired, he realizes that storytelling weaves people together, connecting them through shared heritage. A mysterious traveler offers Kweku a single phoenix feather, glowing faintly with magic.
This feather carries the story of rebirth.
The traveler says, vanishing into the night. Holding it, Kweku feels the weight of stories that transcend endings, tales of resilience that rise from ashes. Kweku is visited by the spirit of memory, who shows him how unreliable memories can alter a story over time.
Not every tale remains the same, and some change for the better.
She explains, leaving him to ponder the balance between truth and myth. Kweku witnesses a heated debate between two village elders, each claiming their version of a famous story is the truth. They finally turn to Kweku to mediate, challenging him to tell the story in a way that honors both versions. With careful words, he finds a middle path, earning the respect of both elders. In the plains, Kweku hears a distant melody carried by the wind. He follows the sound, finding a lone flute player who tells him,
The wind carries forgotten songs and tales from those long gone.
Kweku listens, feeling the wind's stories fill his heart and promising to carry them forward. Kweku meets a blind storyteller who spins tales from sounds, scents, and textures.
Not all stories are seen, Kweku. Some are felt.
She says, smiling as she describes the world in a way he's never experienced. He begins to understand how stories reach beyond words, touching something deep within. Under a full moon, Kweku hears the legend of the Moonchild, a being born from moonlight with the gift of storytelling. As he watches the sky, he feels a connection to this myth, realizing how folklore binds people to the natural world and its mysteries. Kweku is confronted by a fierce guardian spirit who warns him not to exploit the stories he's learned.
These tales are sacred, and you are their keeper, not their owner.
Humbled, Kweku vows to respect the stories and guard their truth. Kweku joins a village during its festival of masks, where each mask represents a unique tale. Through dance and song, the villagers embody their ancestors' stories. He realizes that storytelling is not just a performance, It's an immersion, a chance to become one with the story itself. Crossing a vast desert, Kweku encounters an oasis where an old hermit tells him of a hidden world beneath the sands.
There are stories hidden in places no one dares to look.
The hermit says. Inspired, Kweku learns to seek out tales buried in silence and forgotten corners. In a quiet village, Kweku discovers that the people speak through gestures and expressions. He spends days learning their silent language, realizing that even in silence, powerful stories unfold. He learns to add moments of stillness to his tales, letting silence speak its truth. A young boy claims he can summon rain, and when he does, the village rejoices. The boy explains,
"It's not about the power to make rain, but the belief in it."
Kweku realizes that storytelling isn't always about fact, but about belief and the magic it brings to life. Kweku hears whispers of a creature called the Story Eater, a dark spirit that steals tales from those who forget their meaning. As he encounters this spirit, he is forced to defend his stories, understanding that storytelling is a skill, a privilege, and a responsibility. A healer teaches Kweku that to truly tell a story, he must feel what the characters felt.
Empathy is the heart of every tale.
She says, sharing a story of love and loss. Moved, Kweku learns to channel emotions into his storytelling, giving life to each tale. At a flowing river, Kweku listens as the water seems to speak, recounting stories of journeys, crossings, and secrets carried away. He reflects on the river's constant flow, understanding that stories are like rivers, ever moving and ever changing. Back in his own village, Kweku is called upon to tell a story to a gathering of children, elders, and travelers. Nervously, he draws upon all he has learned, weaving a tale that touches each listener in a different way. The elders nod in approval, seeing that he is ready for his next steps. Kweku is taken to a sacred grove where only storytellers are allowed. There, he feels the presence of all those who came before him. He senses the weight of tradition and the importance of his role in carrying it forward. The phoenix spirit appears again, offering Kweku a lesson on letting stories renew themselves.
Even ancient tales can be reborn, but only if they adapt with time.
Kweku reflects on how to preserve the core of a story while making it resonate with new audiences. He revisits the village of the weaver, meeting her daughter, who shares a fresh perspective on her mother's tale. Kweku learns that every story has layers and perspectives, each adding to its depth and richness. One night, Kweku dreams of a spider weaving stories into a vast web. Each strand glows, connecting villages, memories, and voices. He wakes up inspired, realizing that he is part of a web of storytellers who keep the world's stories alive. In a distant village, he hears the tale of a tortoise who outwitted his foes with patience and wisdom. Kweku realizes that storytelling, like the tortoise, requires patience and a deep understanding of human nature. An elder known as the Dreamkeeper teaches Kweku about the stories that come to people in their sleep.
Dreams are the spirit stories, young griot.
She explains, encouraging Kweku to share the dreams of others in his own tales. Kweku is summoned by the village council once more. This time, they request a story of his own creation. As he speaks, he weaves together fragments of his journey, honoring each lesson and teacher. The elders smile, proud of his growth. Kweku reflects on how each village, each person, and each experience has contributed to his understanding of storytelling.
There is a world of stories in every soul.
He muses, grateful for the journey. Feeling ready, Kweku returns to his home village, sharing his stories with a newfound wisdom and depth. The people are captivated, sensing the change within him. His grandmother watches with pride, seeing her teachings come to life. Kweku leads a ceremony honoring the ancestors who first told these stories. He thanks them, promising to carry their tales forward with respect and integrity. Kweku arrives in a bustling city far from his village, where people are unfamiliar with the traditions he grew up with. As he stands on a crowded street, he gathers a small audience, mostly curious children and their parents. His voice rises above the noise, and slowly, people gather around, captivated by his tales of wise tortoises, trickster spiders, and spirits of the land. In their wide eyes, Kweku sees that the love for stories transcends all boundaries. He tells the story of a young warrior who lost his way but found wisdom through the counsel of an old griot.
The warrior realized that true strength is not in the body, but in the spirit and heart.
The crowd nods, and some look reflective, as if connecting the tale to their own lives. Kweku feels a sense of joy. He is bridging worlds, connecting strangers through timeless wisdom. A scholar challenges Kweku, insisting that folk tales are just simple tales with no value in the modern world. Undeterred, Kweku tells the scholar a story of a wise old tortoise who used his humility to outwit a proud lion. The scholar listens, captivated despite himself.
Stories aren't just tales, they are keys to our history, our values, and our humanity.
Kweku meets a young girl who has a journal filled with her own stories. Inspired by him, she asks if he could share a story that could give her courage. He tells her the story of a little bird who dared to fly despite its fears, facing storms and dangers, but eventually soaring higher than ever. She smiles, her eyes bright with newfound confidence. One night, Kweku brings a diverse audience together under the stars, sharing a tale of unity. The story speaks of a time when animals and humans worked together to save their home from a great flood. As he finishes, he looks around to see people from different walks of life sitting together, talking and laughing. He realizes his stories have built a bridge between them, if only for a moment. The phoenix spirit visits Kweku once more, congratulating him on his journey.
You have honored the tales of old, young griot, but remember, there is always more to learn, more to share.
With these words, the spirit gifts him a feather that glows with a radiant light, a symbol of his own journey of rebirth and transformation. Kweku shares a special story just for the children, filled with wonder and magic, a tale of a hidden kingdom beneath the earth where animals, plants, and humans live in harmony. The children laugh, gasp, and cheer, their faces lit with excitement. Watching their reactions, Kweku feels a deep satisfaction. He is planting seeds of wonder and imagination in the next generation. He tells one last tale to the village elders, a story of his own journey, from a curious boy learning by his grandmother's side to a griot who now shares his wisdom with others. The elders nod in approval, some with tears in their eyes, seeing themselves in his story. His grandmother places her hand on his shoulder, pride shining in her eyes. In his final tale, Kweku speaks of two griots who set out on separate paths. One travelled far, gathering stories, while the other stayed in her village, keeping traditions alive. Though different, both served their people with devotion, proving that all storytellers have a unique role to play. Kweku realizes that, like the two griots, he has found his purpose and his place. Under the starry sky, Kweku reflects on his journey and addresses the audience one last time.
A story doesn't end when it's told. It lives on in each listener, growing, changing, finding new hearts to inspire.
He reminds them that every tale carries a lesson, a memory, a piece of truth that connects the past to the present and guides us toward the future. As Kweku's voice fades into the night, he smiles, knowing that his journey was not just about collecting stories.
This is the true art of storytelling,
He says softly, his eyes shining with wisdom,
to leave a part of yourself in every story and in every listener's heart.
but about understanding the deep, sacred bond that stories create among people. And with that, Kweku's tale is complete, a story that will live on, whispered through generations. A reminder that our stories, like stars, light the way forward even after we're gone.
Supporting us by like, subscribe, comment and share. What is your thought about the aspect of the story? Leave it below the comment. Thanks.